Greetings, dear viewers. This is Tarot Illumination. We are here live now, and I'm going to put up a little bit of a. Let's see if I can do this first of all. Hold on. I have to. For some reason, my video capture has jammed itself. Please give me a moment here. Mercury is still. Flipping retrograde to direct right now. I'm going to see if I can just say hi to you directly myself. Yes, here we are. Greetings. Stay right there, folks. Just got to switch on some of the lights. There we go. Greetings. This is Tarot Illumination. Thank you for visiting. Hello, Path Traveler. I see you. Who else? We got Fire Tiger. Wow. Okay. And Ivona. Greetings. Thank you all for dropping in. And we're going to see if I can get back to the stage in a minute. Hopefully it works. No, it's not working. So I'm going to have to do some kind of technical weird thing here. I'm not quite sure what or how. Okay, I'm not sure what's going wrong. Anyway, let me just go over to the browser. I'll just show you something here. No, that's not working either. Okay. Sorry. Hello, VP. Let me see if I can salvage this little problem with one of the cameras here. Give me a second. I might have to... Now, why is it stuck? I'm gonna have to deactivate it and then reactivate. So hold on. I don't know if this is gonna work. Oh, that's not gonna work. Okay. Sorry, you're probably gonna see some weird things as things blank out. There we are. Now we are salvaged. I somehow or other, using my technical genius, I figured out how to salvage things. All right, I'm going to craft a little astrodoodle here, and I ask you to be patient as we go through this. It won't take me long, but I just want to kind of get you all up to speed. These are notes. We'll probably come back to these in a little while. But for today, as you know, there's really not a lot of coincidences when it comes to the astrology. It's kind of a special day in the United States right now because we're just getting feedback about the general election. And right now it looks as though we have Joe Biden as the winner and Mr. Trump as the loser. Now, you can probably be certain that this election will be contested. I can guarantee. Okay, so it's going to trigger a lot of uncertainty, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and turmoil. In some ways, it might be a big non-event to a lot of people. For me, I'm taking it quite personally. I'm really quite jittery at the moment. I'm taking it personally, mostly because I have, in my own chart, I have aspects that are very closely aligned with the identity of the United States, okay? And so I kind of take all this stuff personally. And I'll show you things about this in a moment. But right now I just want to focus on today itself. I'm using my typical, very elementary, westernized, universal chart for the Earth, okay? And of course, it changes for the individuals. But for now, I just want to focus on Earth. So today, right now, we have basically poor little Chiron over here, the wounded warrior. Mars in Aries. It's still retrograde, okay, over here. Actually, I better get my red ink so you can see. We're going to put some red and green on here. It's really kind of a strange day astrologically. Uranus is in Taurus over here. And we have the North Node over here in Gemini, of course, which happens to be the North Node of Mr. Donald Trump. And we have the Moon over here in Gemini. It's going to transition into Cancer very soon, and in a couple of days we're going to have some very serious, very, let's say, emotionally uncomfortable oppositions going on. And I think that'll align with the the election numbers starting to come out and what that's going to look like. Over here we have Venus in Libra. Okay. Planet of Harmony. We have Mercury in Libra over here, and it just flipped direct. Okay, so this is a moment of great instability right now. The Sun is over here in Scorpio, and we have the usual culprits over here: Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, all lined up in a very tight conjunction. So we have a very extreme kind of oddball thing going on, multiple quincunxes, which is a very odd, very uncomfortable alignment between all the Capricorn energy and the Gemini energy over here. So I'm going to mark that like this. Okay? What this indicates to me is that we have a very, very uncomfortable pressure from the serious heavyweights over here, the reality check police, putting pressure on everyone here on Earth to deal with the facts, the information in front of us as it stands. Not coulda, woulda, shoulda, or maybe this or maybe that, but what is the information in front of you? Just like in traffic, when you're driving through traffic, you can't just sort of estimate, like, well, maybe the light's red or maybe the light's green. No, it's either red or green, and you have to take action. So this is a very high pressure alignment, and it's very multiplied because we got three heavyweights here pointing right over here. It's very delicate, very sensitive, very uncomfortable energy. I know I'm feeling it personally. I have a lot of lunar aspects, and so I'm feeling very agitated personally by this reality check, a serious reality check. Now at the same time, we've got a lot of tension over here between Mercury, the planet of commerce, communications, intercommunications, basically like, how day-to-day commerce experiences, like with your PayPal accounts or your online shopping or your digital banking and all those kinds of things. That is in very harsh alignments, multiple harsh alignments with the reality check police. So again, money is under a lot of pressure here in global finances, and we still have quite a bit of, I would say, loose opposition going on between Mercury. I know it's not really tight angles, but I'm going to put it in here anyway. This is really miserable. It's about, again, how we're feeling this in relationship between ourselves and other people. How do you feel you are being understood by other people? How do other people feel that they're being understood by you? And there's obviously a lot of conflict going on here, and you can see it in global politics, especially American politics right now. Now, at the same time, we have a very uncomfortable alignment here between Venus and Chiron. Very uncomfortable in terms of the energy of relationships, breakdown of relationships, the crumbling of relationships. We also have a very, I would say, nasty, but very subtle, very hard to understand aspect between Neptune and Pisces over here, and the North Node and the Moon in Gemini over here. That's a lot of pressure. This indicates to me fraud. Okay? Now, add on top of that, we have another a singular challenge over here between the Sun in Scorpio and Uranus in Taurus. Okay, so that's a lot of red, okay? That's a lot of red and orange. There are a couple of sweet spots between the Moon and Mercury right now, so that's fine. But frankly, that energy is completely dwarfed by these challenges. So guess what? This is today, November, the 4th of November. Sorry, there's a B in there, of 2020. And it's the day after the American elections. Look at this. This is just freaking chaos. The angles over here between Uranus and Taurus and Sun and Scorpio, it's all about money. Okay? Extreme conflicts in the world of money. If any of you are interested, I'm particularly interested in finances. I'm trying to educate myself as much as possible because I don't want to be a victim of what's happening in, let's say, the global reset. Big question mark right now, where we have these opposing parties. We have the traditional established, I guess you could call them oligarchs, the central banks, the Federal Reserve all across the world, the central governments, they have a status quo that they're trying to protect. And the Sun is saying something very, very different. Well, the Sun in Scorpio, this is the 8th house of other people's money. This is the house of your money, our money, my money. And it's deeply in conflict right now. And that is playing out in the global financial system. That's just one aspect of it showing up here. Also, Uranus in Taurus, by definition, indicates radical upheavals in the global financial system. Taurus is the sign of money. You put Uranus in Taurus, that means radical shakeups, revolutionary shakeups in the global financial system. Guess what's happening today? It's becoming very obvious now to people like myself who are observing this and trying to position ourselves so that we do not become collateral damage. This is a lot of pain, and it affects the United States. Well, it affects all of us. Let me go over here. I want to check in with you guys personally, let you know I'm here. Let's have a look. Here we are. Let's have a look at this. Hello. Hello, people. I'm going to show you a little page over here. Sorry, I'm just clicking around trying to get things stable. Hello, Pammy Pam Pam. Hello, Love Triber. I see you. Hello, VP. I should make this more, I wish I had a more kind of professional presentation. If anybody's interested in making donations to the channel, I'm trying to keep the channel going. You can donate PayPal directly to a little book about at yahoo.com. Or you can also go to, let's say, for example, okay, I screwed that up. You can, it doesn't look right, but you can go to tarotlumination.com and hit the donate page. That should help. Okay. That should work. Okay, there we go. Click the donate page and that takes you directly to the PayPal processor, and you can just swipe a card there. That's one way to do it. You can even use Super Chat if you want to. Anyway, let's get back. So, just for disclosure, I'm very shaky right now because I'm taking it very personally. If I was more, let's say, serenely balanced, I wouldn't be taking everything that's happening in the planets right now in global history in a personal way. I would take it in a very impersonal way. But it does affect me right here. I'm very, very scared right now. I'm also very excited because we're living in a historical moment that, as you know from my little book, if anybody's been aware, we talked about this years and years ago, and now it's right here. Let me get a copy. Whoops. This is it. This is the world-famous book by Tarot Illumination called Wealth, Money, Finance, Global Restructuring in January 2020. That's when it all happened, and I'm not going to go into it here, but the real meaty stuff is towards the end where we identify very specifically the times and the dates of January 2020 when the global financial catastrophic moment in time occurred. That was the actual trigger point. We felt it in March, but the triggers happened with the Cancer Capricorn eclipses. And I don't know about you, but I felt it like a massive shock wave. And the shock wave was like a massive nuclear bomb that sent ripples all across the world. You know, just like bombs, when they go off, there are multiple shock waves, and those shock waves are still reverberating across the planet today. The real shock hit humanity around March 3rd. I remember the days very clearly. Getting onto the plane in New Zealand, the airport was empty. A couple days before, it was packed. Day of departure, plane was empty. A day and a half later, I arrived back in Los Angeles. We taxi up to the airport to disembark, and the pilot announces, "Hello everybody, this is your captain speaking. Please understand that there's a very high security alert now in Customs and Immigration. We could be stuck here on the ground for hours. We will release passengers as soon as we get permission to do so." So we had to sit for about an hour, and then we all flooded through these gates where there was lots of armed security guards, and we got through, but Los Angeles LAX airport was empty, just empty. And it's been that way ever since. March 3rd, as you also know, the United States stock market, in fact, most of the world markets imploded. Okay? And just like clockwork, Federal Reserve comes in like perfect timing. It's time for us to issue our Save the World campaign. We're going to print money to infinity, so that's what they've been doing since early March. And it's working beautifully as far as they're concerned. Basically, it's like a massive scam. But it works for the people who benefit from the scam. It's like Ponzi schemes. Ponzi schemes are really amazing. They work incredibly well for the people who create the Ponzi schemes. It doesn't work so well for the people who get fleeced and scammed by the Ponzi scheme. So in the bigger picture, we the people, the dumb people, the dumb money, we're the ones, the sheeple, we're the ones getting scammed right now. And a handful of folks higher up the financial food chain are benefiting from this massive Ponzi scheme that's operated by the Federal Reserve. Well, it's owned by the Federal Reserve, and it's operated by the federal government, plus all the other central banks around the world. Okay? So, yeah, hello, Nikki. Hello, VP. Vice President. Wow, the Vice President's here. Mr. Mike Pence, hello, sir. Okay, I hope I don't... Hey, Lena! Lena from Argentina! Good to see you. So anyway, just for the record, all of this stuff that we're talking about right now, global restructuring, I wrote this years and years ago, okay? And I pinpointed the dates specifically when the ticking clock would all align. January 2020, and that's when news of the China virus went around the world. That's like when the bomb was released, dropped down, and then like a slow motion movie, it kind of went all over the planet. The rest is history. We all know that. You've all experienced it in your own way. It's been pretty devastating for me. I've had a lot of losses because of this situation. I'm taking it as, everything is exactly as it should be. And so I'm learning and growing tremendously from all of this. But it's still been painful over here. So, some of you know that I might not be very... I do personal consultations with astrology and tarot. I've been doing this for years, and I've done thousands of readings. But in my heart of hearts, okay, I've done that with lots of satisfied clients. But more and more, I seem to be heading towards like the bigger picture, and I'm learning so much about myself in the process. So it brings us here today. Thank you, dear viewers, for being here. I know the channel is heavily penalized and there's no way out of it, and I'm going to have to start a new channel. And I'm really scared about that. That's where I get serious butterflies as well, because I'm terrified of the censorship. As you know, my channel was heavily censored because of what I do and how I do it. And that was back in 2018. God knows what it's like now for some of the other channels. It seems to be pretty random. We have the self-appointed masters, Mr. Google and Mr. Facebook and Mr. Twitter. Basically, they have complete monopolistic controls over a lot of these highly important and highly valuable global communication systems and information vacuums. So there's not much you can do about it, because these are public companies, and they have shareholders, and the owners can basically do whatever they like, and so they do. And it's only very recently that Washington, D.C. has made an attempt to hold these three major companies accountable, because some of you have probably noticed those particular folks that I just mentioned by letters. They represent a very radical left-wing agenda, borderline communism, totalitarianism, communist dictatorship, very much modeled on the Marxist-Leninist thing, very much as the way China operates today in the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. Remember, the Chinese Communist Party is not the Chinese people. Hundreds of millions of Chinese people hate the CCP. They don't want anything to do with the CCP, but it's very hard for the Chinese to protect and defend themselves, because they have really no rights at all. They don't have any privacy. They can't bear arms. They don't have a constitution. They're not allowed to free speech. They're not allowed weapons to protect and defend themselves against the tyranny. Luckily, in the United States, unlike anywhere else on earth, we have a constitution. And that constitution is a very valuable, let's say, operating system, a very valuable code of conduct, a set of protocols that have been with us for about 250 years. That constitution still exists today in theory, but as you've probably noticed, it's been heavily crushed, undermined, perverted, distorted, set aside, ignored. And we now have what I see in very high places in companies, in government offices and corporations, people who have very deeply vested interests in the propagation of totalitarianism, because they benefit. It's like being the owners of a Ponzi scheme. It's like being the owners of a debt farm, like being the owners of a slave camp. Being the owner of a debt farm, especially the American debt farm, especially the Chinese slave camp, when you are the owners of those and you're the beneficiaries, it's fantastic. And you're going to do everything you can to perpetuate these structures. And at the same time, these structures are under tremendous pressure right now because of their fraudulent nature, okay? China is under tremendous pressure internally, environmentally. The people of China, almost like we the people of China, I think they're starting to understand what we have over here, we the people in the United States. So let me go to this thing here. I've shown you this little book many times before. It looks very primitive today, okay? But the principles are still there, okay? I'm not an expert. I'm not a constitutional lawyer. The most I know about the Constitution is from this and what I feel is inside my guts. We still technically have the right to freedom of speech, the freedom of press, the rule of law, the right to due process, the right to remain silent, the right to innocent until proven guilty, the right to bear arms and to protect and defend ourselves against the tyranny of our so-called elected chosen leaders. We still have all of those things, okay? The question is, how effective are the elements of the Constitution? It's very fragile right now. There are people that I've already talked about who are doing everything they can to destroy this thing that we have, because this is the enemy of the elites, okay? Let me go to my little doodles over here. I want to explain this. See if I can do this without getting all choked up or confusing myself or other people. Okay, so this is today's chart. It is an absolute mess, as you can see. So like a lot of people have predicted, the American election for president, it happened yesterday. It's been building up for a year. And we all knew it was going to be contested, whoever wins. If Trump wins, we know that it was going to be contested by the lefties. If Biden wins, we know it was going to be contested by the right-wingers, okay? So that's what's happening today. It's going to get very, very bumpy, because what's happening right now is, from my perspective, is a massive fraud. There is a massive fraud that has been perpetrated on the American people, and it is still being perpetrated today on the American people. Whether you are aware of it or not, that's a whole other thing. All good frauds, all really successful Ponzi schemes have a very, very glossy, highly convincing, highly seductive business model. Okay? It's the same thing that those people are putting out there, as you know. Those three big corporations that I mentioned, and the American Federal Reserve and the American federal government, have created this almost inescapable, monstrous fraud on we the people. And most, I would say, my guess is that if you can't describe it directly, you might still feel it in your body. And so it's coming up right now. It's going to be very, very evidenced over the next few years. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But I just want to show today, right now, how ugly things are out there. If you're lucky and you're having a really sweet, smiley day, I'm envious for you, because maybe you are immune to all of this. Maybe you don't care. I care personally, because I feel that this is basically exactly like a representation of how bad things are across the world right now, especially as it's felt by America. I should go to my American charts. Actually, let me do that now, just as a reference point, so you see. Hello, Marissa Haynes, I see you. Hello and goodbye. Hello, goodbye, goodbye, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello. Give me a second. I'll be coming back over here. I want to reference a few things that I've shown you a couple of times before, earlier this year. This is a little Tarot Lumination Astrodoodle of the United States. It's like an astrology chart that you would get for a person if we were doing a personal consultation. We're taking it in the traditional way from the 4th of July, 1776, where it's Sagittarius on the horizon, Gemini on the 7th, Sun and Jupiter and Mercury and Venus are all up here in Cancer. You know what? I should put the Sun in there. I didn't do that. Well, it is here. It's already marked, okay? And this is like what we consider the American identity over here. And as you can tell, it's in heavy opposition to Pluto in Capricorn over here. America was born with a massive opposition between Pluto, Capricorn energy, and all the Cancerian energy. Okay? In its natal houses of money. Second house of money, second house of other people's money. So it is a very natural thing for America to be very concerned about money, finances, okay? That's kind of why I wrote my book, Wealth, Money, Finance. So what is happening right now, if you've watched some other shows, we know that we have just lived through a roughly 250-year Pluto cycle. We're coming close to the very tippy end of a Pluto cycle that began in 1776, okay? And the way I look at it, this is an incredibly painful journey that is coming to an end, okay? And it's as it comes to an end, it's like giving birth to a new life, a new world, a new beginning. So what I've tried to do is kind of illustrate that what is happening in the United States today is perfectly in alignment with what's happening in the planets right now. For example, if this was a person and you lived to be like 300 or 400 years old and we were talking about your Pluto return, then we could be talking like this. And if you, for example, are experiencing or you've been experiencing a lot of pain since roughly 2008 when Pluto entered Capricorn over here, then you might notice that the pain is increasing the closer and closer that we get towards Capricorn 27 degrees, which is only about 3 years away. So the way I look at it, we are in the very early stages of going through the birth canal. Let me see if I have a chart here. Let me see if I've got an astrodoodle about the birth canal. I got stuff on China and so let me just check because I'm pretty. Oh, that one's China. Let me go. Hold on. Stay there. Don't go away. I wish I had. I wish I had. That's one over here. Stay there. Don't go away. Oh, it's not coming up that easily. I know I have a chart here. Give me a second. I have a chart that's very specifically about the subject that I'm talking about right now. Damn it. Okay. Anyway, let me see if I can talk my way through this without an illustration. No, I guess I can't. Well, maybe it's in here. God knows. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Hey, Lena, I miss you too. I hope you're doing well over there in Argentina. So this is a kind of a weird little doodle that I made regarding the timelines from where we are right now to where we're headed over the next few years. Okay? You know, I like to think in very large scale perspectives and then try to bring it down into something comprehensible here in the day-to-day. All right, so over here, we are in 2020, right? Okay, over here, at the end of 2020. And this is, let's just say this date particularly right here, right now, happens to be this thing that I showed you. Oh my God, excuse me. I really need a whole new stage. Let me do this. Okay, let's just say this is an astrodoodle representing this moment in time right now, the end of 2021, where we are heading into a culmination of pressure points. We're happening here right now at about 24 degrees Capricorn. The main point of extreme pressure is going to be over here, 27 degrees Capricorn, which is roughly at the very end of 2023. So the way I look at it, my feeling is that over the next few years, we're starting to go through the birth canal as we enter a brand new moment of rebirth, which is the equivalent of 1776 revisited, okay? That's the rebirth over here, which is going to occur roughly at the tail end of 2023. Now, of course, Pluto moves very, very slowly. So this process of rebirth of the United States is going to be very slow and painful. Just imagine that you are female, whether you're male or female or not. Just imagine that you are female and you just realized, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Well, let's just say I know I'm pregnant. I've been pregnant for a while, and now I'm realizing, oh my God, I'm going to give birth soon. And you realize, oh my God, it's going to be at least 3.5 years of labor pains, and then the moment of birth is going to be monumental. We're not even close to this yet, okay? So I hope these illustrations make sense. So we are here right now. To me, this is a very shocking moment in time. It's a very tragic day in American history. It's a very profound day in American history because the way I see it, from the little bits of information I've collected, a massive fraud is being perpetrated on we the people. And it's being done extremely successfully, very, very effectively. These are all highly abusive aspects in the chart. And this aspect here, this quincunx thing, is telling us to wake up, people. Understand how serious this is. This is the reality check police, okay? This energy here is sitting directly on top of this, okay? See if I can align this up. This energy here, we've been dealing with this since about 2008, and it's amplifying. It's getting very intense right now, and it's going to increase in intensity when we over the next 3 to 4 years. That thing here is sitting right on top of this thing here. This little thing here, this little microscopic shift with my pen over here represents this here, okay? We are at this tipping point right now. This is a historical time in American history, if that makes sense. And we're starting to realize, my God, America, we could be dead as we know it. Basically, at the moment, we could die in childbirth, okay? The mother could die in childbirth. The child could die in labor. Mother and child could both die, and that's the end of this as we know it. This is gone. This is destroyed. This is going away, okay? Unless we survive. Now the thing is, the survival of this, from my perspective, is essential in terms of freedom. I like to live this way. I do not want to live under an umbrella of darkness, a massive shadow business owned and operated by China and Chinerica. Because right now, as you know, Mr. Biden, he is preparing to hand over the United States to these folks over here and these folks over here and create a new world order, okay? A massive global totalitarian state owned and operated by the dark folks' shadows over here and the dark folks' shadows over here, trying to consolidate and control and own their power. And they do it in very, let's say, subtle but very effective and destructive ways. It is a Ponzi scheme, and it works because the owners are here, and a few other countries, like Venezuela and any of the communist dictatorship countries are salivating right now because Joe Biden, in theory, has won. Now, as you also know, Trump is going to contest this election. It's going to be contested to, my personal feeling is up to the point of warfare. Okay? Maybe it's not hands and guns and all of that, but it will be war in terms of this. Okay? Now, why do I say that? Well, again, it's to do with the planetary alignments that have never let me down. Let me illustrate the what I would call the threat. I'm not going to say the enemy because some of you might be interested in this stuff, okay? Right now, this is what is being attempted to be implemented across planet Earth right now. The banksters, you could call it the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Bank of International Settlements, the World Economic Forum, all of the central banks, like the U.S. Federal Reserve, the European Economic Community, the Chinese Central People's Bank of something or other. They are all looking for ways to implement and maintain their power structure more than ever before, because it's technically possible to do this. The way they are going to do it is by the implementation of what they're calling a central bank digital currency. It's already kind of happening in China. That's the Chinese Communist Party. As you know, I see China as a prison full of prison cells. I see the United States as a debt farm that is owned by the U.S. Federal Reserve and operated by the U.S. federal government. So in that regard, it doesn't matter if Trump wins or Biden wins. Both of them, in theory, are working for the U.S. Federal Reserve. However, Mr. Trump is not in favor of this. He's in a very, very difficult position because he has to allow that this exists, and this is what's keeping our country going right now, this massive Ponzi scheme. At the same time, he's much more interested in... Where is it? Oh, where's my other chart? He's much more interested in this. There are things happening in the global financial spheres right now. It's very, very, very new stuff. It's not very obvious, but what's happening right now is that there is a world of honest money starting to occur. I've tried to illustrate it this way so I can compare this, okay, with this. This is a world of fake money. All of this so-called money is really just currency. It's all based on debt, creating massive debt farms all across the world and slave camps all across certain countries. It works beautifully so long as you do not question the system, okay? These folks over here, like Klaus Schwab over here, he's on the front cover of Time magazine right now because they're trying to implement this thing. The American government, as you know, it's heavily democratic left-wing kind of organization, and they benefit tremendously from having an organization like this. And this is based on fraud. This whole thing is a massive global fraud, okay? Now, some people figured out that this is not cool. In fact, they figured out ever since 1913, when the Federal Reserve was first invented, that we've got a problem here. And what's happened is the massive fraud that was initiated in 1913 has been perfected to the point where it is now globalized, and these folks are trying to take it to the next level to grow a Ponzi scheme on a scale that you have never seen before. And it is going to happen. They are going to implement this thing with a central bank digital currency for every major currency across the world. And inside those CBDCs, it's just the same as money that we have now, which is basically fiat currency, which is fake money, which is not real money, it's currency, it's tokens. And so long as you believe it, money is what we believe it to be, then there's no questions. That's the beauty of this thing. A lot of people would never question it because it all looks so important. They're all wearing suits and ties. They have big offices. They do important things. They tell us what to do and how to do it. And so long as you don't ask any questions, it works beautifully. In fact, in America, they're thinking of this thing called FedNow, which is like a CBDC for America, which includes UBI, which is Universal Basic Income. And that's a little bit scary because it basically preys on the poor and the weak and the middle class to keep this thing going. It's like bait. It's like candy. Here, little child, take this candy. Take this candy. Don't ask any questions. Just do what we do what we say. All of these CBDCs are connected to central banks, not retail banks, not private banks, but to central banks. And the CBDCs are controllable. They are programmable. So in other words, if just like in China, if the China CCP does not like the way that you, the individual, are spending your money, you will be penalized. Your social score will go down. You can be disappeared. You can go to prison. You can go to jail. So this thing, to me, represents a massive fraud, a massive prison, a massive kind of like unfreeze thing. Oh, there it is. I don't know what I did. So this, to me, is absolutely terrifying. If you're not scared by this, well, maybe have a closer look at it again. There's tons of stuff all over YouTube. You're not going to find any of this on mainstream news, I'm sorry. But there are enough smart people out there who are very aware of what all this is going on, and they're trying to help this. They're trying to make people aware, okay? Now, there is the flip side. The bright side is that this is being birthed into new life at the same time that this is trying to maintain the infrastructure, okay? This infrastructure is extremely fragile, okay? This is a world of honest money. This is a world where money is now being designed, especially in the world of cryptocurrencies, where think for a classic example is something like Bitcoin, where they have this theoretical value which cannot be distorted or undermined or controlled by these people. So I like to simplify things. I think of this as a world of potential honest money, and I see this as a world of fake money. Honest money is the enemy of fake money. The thing is, these folks can't stop these folks. And these folks can't stop these folks. So what's going to happen is we're going to have like a very sick marriage unfolding where these folks are going to have to learn to get along with each other. And that's causing a lot of problems in the global financial and banking system right now. And it's going to accelerate and become a lot more volatile. The more and more this comes into common knowledge, common use, common awareness, the more and more threatened these folks will become. And the more they will try and legislate and block and undermine and destroy a world of honest money. This is the world to which I would like to subscribe. This is the world to which I would align my own writings and the United States and the Constitution that we have here today. This is all under threat by this. I hope my doodles make sense to you. And right now, the only people on earth who are standing up to this, God bless them, is our American president and a few people in here. Donald Trump is still the president of the United States today. He's fully aware of what's going on here. He's fully aware of what's going on here. You may not believe it, but I believe that he is for the people. I believe he is for America, pro-America, and he's very much against this because there's some very, very powerful forces in America right now that are doing everything they can to turn the United States into China-America, because that keeps this thing going beautifully, so long as you don't ask any questions. It's fantastic. So the way they're going to control us, thank you, Path, is through UBI, Universal Basic Income. It's going to start in America soon. It's probably happening in other places experimentally, in Europe as well, where it's sort of like the welfare state that we have in a lot of westernized countries right now, where they just give you free money because you're poor and or lazy or sick or old or something, where you can't really function in this world. So they give you just enough to survive and not ask any questions while they continue to perpetrate their fraud on a larger scale with the healthy prisoners and the healthy debt cows, where they're really going to milk the money, okay? Because what they're doing, this whole Ponzi scheme is designed to suck life, energy, money out of you and put it into their pockets. It is literally a massive Ponzi scheme. So what I'm hoping is that all this comes to an end, okay? I'm literally kind of hoping that the sick part of America, the sick part of this, which happened and started in 1913, I'm hoping it starts to crack. It's starting to crack right now in 2020, and I'm hoping that it has a major breach in about 2023, 2024. But we're not there yet. We have a lot of bumpy rides to go through before we get to... Where is that chart? Okay. This is where we're heading right now. We are here. We're going to end up here. When Pluto hits Aquarius in 2024, it's going to be a very new world, including in terms of global politics, finance, banking. Okay, it's going to affect everybody. And it's going to be a bumpy ride to get there, because what's going to happen between now and again, we're going to get the initial labor pains. They're going to be very extreme over the next year of 2021. Okay, right in here. This time frame right here, 2021, and actually heading into 2022 and halfway to here, it's going to be very bumpy. And why is that so? Well, it's because... Where's my chart for today? Here. Thank you guys for putting up with me. What's happening is that a couple of the reality check police, see if I can find it, these folks here. You see this one here? This is Pluto. It's going to take about 4 years to go from here to here. This is the beginning of labor pains in through the birth canal right now. It's going to be 4 years of labor pains. It's starting right now. We've been building up to it since 2008 when it started here. But the real surge is happening right now. Okay? And we're going to break waters roughly at the end of 2023 over here. In the meantime, this, okay, if you look at this as a clock, if you think of the planets, they're like perpetual, clock motions that's going round, around, around. Pluto is here right now, and it's going to go from here to here. To go from here to here is about 4 years, okay? On the other hand, for the moon, for example, it takes 2.5 days to go from here to here, okay? It takes a month to go from here to here. So you can see there's huge time differences. My body seems to be mostly aware of these very large, very deep, heavy wave energy frequencies. I'm aware of the day-to-day stuff too, but I seem to be programmed to be more aware of this stuff. That's why I focus on this. So, right now, we are at the end of 2020. Okay, we just had the United States election, and as predicted, it's a farce and it's going to be contested. Donald Trump is going to do everything he can to protect his presidency because he sees it as his God-given mission to protect this from this, even though he's part of this. So it's like an insider job. Sorry, I dropped my pen. Hold on. So I've kind of gone over these things before, but I'm trying to go bigger and wider right now in today's show because today is such a critical day astrologically. And then take this down. What does this mean down here on Earth in a larger picture? Right now, this is just another day in the charts. 99% of the people on Earth are going to be completely oblivious to these energies and patterns. The only people who are going to be really concerned right now is the American president and all the left-wing Democrats and the global banking system and the other global banking systems in the other nations and countries. A lot of people, for this will just be something like they'll see maybe on a news feed somewhere. Oh, Biden won. And that's it. They'll just move on with their day. But for me, this is historical. Absolutely historical to the point where I made a whole book about 2020 because it is a historical year on planet Earth, as some of you already know. So, what's the bumpy patch that I've been talking about? Okay, it's over here. See if I can align these charts together. This is a timeline going here, okay? Have you guys heard of George Gammon, by the way? He does finances on YouTube. He does, I call them, gammographs. Love Tribe christened them as gammographs. So anyway, this is my attempt to try and describe what I understand about the larger picture, and I'm trying to share it with you guys so everything that seems chaotic and insane is actually happening perfectly. Okay? All the terrifying things that are happening across the world right now are perfect. They're exactly as they should be. They can't be any other way. All the amazing things that are happening on planet Earth right now are perfect. They can't be any other way. It's just physics. Okay, so over here we have Jupiter. Over here we have Pluto. Over here we have Saturn. So guess what? In 2021, which is... Sorry, let me just do this. In 2021, which is right here, tick-tock, 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 right here, 2021, Jupiter enters Aquarius, okay? Jupiter enters the sign of Aquarius. Almost identically, Saturn enters the sign of Aquarius. Jupiter and Saturn have almost completely polar opposite energies. Saturn represents the energy of tough lessons, karmic returns, patience, hard work, commitment, responsibilities, serious reality checks. And if you fail on any of those aspects, you will feel pain. That's why they call the Saturn return at age 29 and a half a very critical time in life. Because if you screwed up on life, you're going to know everything about how and why you screwed up when you reach 29 and a half years old. And that's just little Saturn. Imagine a Pluto return, 250 years. So we're facing a lot of pain right now. We're heading right into it. I call it labor pains. So Jupiter is moving into Aquarius. It's going to be there for the whole of 2021. And it's going to really shake up, okay, the Aquarian energies. I'll come to that in a minute. Same thing with Saturn. It's going to start shaking up the Aquarian energies. And why is that so important? Well, I'll show you. The United States has very important Aquarian themes in its identity. Where's my little charts? I'm going to try and connect all these bits and pieces. Okay, here it is. The United States is born with the South Node in Aquarius. Okay, late degrees. So, we're going to feel it really hard in about 2 years, okay? The South Node in Aquarius is kind of how America was born. That's a very powerful surge, a powerful default setting that we want freedom. We demand freedom. Freedom of speech. Aquarius in the 3rd house. Freedom of speech, okay? That's the South Node energy of the United States. And we're on a journey towards the Leo North Node. So what does that mean? What happens is it means that the planets that I just talked about, Jupiter and Saturn, are going to be moving from here into here. Jupiter is going to take 1 year to go from here to here. Saturn is going to take 2.5 years to go from here to here. So for 2021, you're going to have Jupiter and Saturn stuck over here, putting tremendous pressure on the American Aquarius theme, okay? And it's going to wake up and jolt a lot of America and Americans, and that's going to reverberate across the world. And there's going to be an outrage and screams across the world. We want the people to be free. We, the people, demand our freedom. This is an energy of revolution. It's going to be revolutionary, okay? So with the Leo node, North Node, how do we, let's say, tap into the amazing reservoir of Aquarian energy that we, the people, have in the United States, that we still have today? Most of us are oblivious or asleep to the fact that we still have this energy impregnated in the DNA of America today. So the way to activate it is through bold, light, bright light, Leo generosity and kindness. Okay? Leo characteristics. Think about Leo characteristics. Being kind, being generous, being strong, being courageous, being powerful, being a leader in a way that allows for everyone to share in the light. Okay? A really good Leo leader brings light, not to suck light to itself for its own glory, but it shines its whole light on the people. And when you have good leadership, then it lights up the people, and then the people can follow their path into their own light, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to really simplify it, but that's what I'm hoping is going to happen here. So what will happen, my feeling, is that we, the people in the United States, are going to start to wake up and realize how much darkness has impinged on our life in the United States. When I talk about darkness, I'm talking about the hardcore, radical, left-wing agenda, especially as it's communicated through the global banking system. And in the United States, of course, they're extremely happy right now. these globalists are extremely happy that Biden has theoretically won the election, because Biden is essentially going to hand the United States over to China, and they're going to have the global reset. And we're going to have totalitarianism worldwide, according to these folks over here. Just watch anything from the World Economic Forum by Klaus Schwab, and you'll understand. Watch her, Kristalina, and this fellow, and these folks, okay? Watch the Federal Reserve, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So, and basically, I guess what I'm saying is that it's all happening simultaneously. So, the birth of America is a beautiful thing, but it's not going to be easy. Okay, for example, let's say you're one of the people who, let's say, likes Trump, or you voted for Trump because you believe that he is someone who's going to fight for the people. Then that's a 4-year period over here. Let's just say, for example, he contests the election and he finds a way to stay in power. That's absolute radical revolution. Who do you know who's ever done that before? Okay? Trump is probably the only person in the world who could do it. Now let's just imagine he contests the election and he fails and Biden takes over. Either way, it's going to be very revolutionary for the United States. It's going to be radical upheaval. All the people in the United States who feel that they were betrayed by their government, by their voting system, and by a betrayed with a massive example of voter fraud, basically triggering a lot of hostility in the world of relationships, America versus Americans, Americans versus Americans, all the hardcore lefties versus all the hardcore right-wingers, all the hardcore elitists versus all the hardcore sheeple, the poor, the needy, the debt cows, and all the enslaved people. I just see a lot of pain here, and it's being exposed. And it's going to be more exposed as time goes on through the rest of this year. We've got 2 months in the rest of this year to see what's going to happen about the election being contested. So this represents a lot of volatility on a global scale, but especially for the United States because of this trigger point and this trigger point. Okay? So we'll see how that unfolds. When Jupiter hits Aquarius at the beginning of the year, it's going to expand all the revolutionary aspects of the United States. All of the energy of we the people, the Aquarian energy that went into the creation of this thing. Something like this never existed before 1776. And it's now coming into question. Can we give birth to this thing again in 2021? We're going through it right now. We're going through the labor pains right now. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to win or how it's going to play out. But I just know that it's going to be extremely revolutionary, chaotic, and it's going to generate a lot of upheaval. The Jupiter is going to expand it. Like they're going to say, I want my freedom. I demand my freedom. I want to be more free than I've ever been before. I thought I was entrapped, living in a cage in 1776. But this cage that we have today, this thing that we have today is a much more elaborate prison. It's a much more beautiful prison. It is a gilded prison. And that makes it even more terrifying because you're not even aware about how heavily imprisoned you are as we the people. And I think people are going to wake up that, my God, if this is really how it is, that is absolutely terrifying. I don't want this, but it is here. So how are we going to live through this? How are we going to get through this? I don't know. Saturn will intervene. Saturn, the taskmaster, will come in there and say, okay, let's stop screwing around, people. Saturn in Aquarius is going to put a damper. Saturn represents like the corporatocracies, the leaders. They're going to do everything they can to shut down the revolutionaries. So again, you can boil it into simple things. I like to distill everything into yes, no, black, white, up, down, left, right. Because ultimately all decisions, like in computer code, boil down to a 0 or a 1. It's either this or it's that. There's no maybes. Okay? So what's happening is that the United States is going to be forced to examine itself as an entity more than ever before in the last 250 years. And Saturn's going to be to put the pressure on. Anything and everything that's fake and bogus was going to be exposed. There's two sides to the energy, okay? Like the Jupiter and Aquarius energy could expand the fraud, okay? Just as the Saturn energy could expand the power of the fraudsters, okay? On the flip side, on the light side, the sweetness is that, let's say, the demands for freedom will increase. I personally believe that there are going to be a lot of Americans who are basically going to reject what happened in today's election, no matter what the media is telling us, okay? And that's going to set up the potential for revolution. Aquarius is the sign of revolution, the sign of upheaval, the sign that demands personal freedom above and beyond everything else. The right to be you, the right to be me, the right to be free of a slave camp and a debt farm. That can be amplified. And then the Saturn in Aquarius can basically say, okay, well, how are we going to make that happen? We have to think through this logically, methodically, because we've got to figure it out. Because either America is going to die, it's going to be stillborn, and America as you know it is going to be dead forever, or it will be reborn. For America to be reborn, it's going to be 4 years of increasing labor pains. And the moment of breach, you know, when the little head pops out or whatever, that's going to be, I am predicting now that we're looking at an almost a 3.5 year journey to get to the point of maximum pressure. You know, you've seen on the stock market, like they're always saying, oh, it's going to crash today. Oh, it's going to crash today. Oh, it's going to crash today. To me, this point here is the equivalent of what I wrote in this book here years ago of January 2020. I'm looking at roughly November and December of 2023 as the trigger point. But then again, Pluto moves so slowly that the actual birthing process is going to take at least another year once you've gone through the labor pains, okay? Thank you, Love Triber. So, I would say brace yourself, start planning now. I'm doing everything I can. You remember, I'm not a financier, okay? Hold on, I'm going to check in with you guys personally. See if I can do this. Okay? Yeah, just understand. I'm one of the people. I'm literally like a statistic. I'm one of we the people. I live on very slender means. I'm scared of losing my freedom. I'm also semi-dependent on the state because of health reasons. So I'm in a very fragile position myself. I have to learn and find a way to navigate in both worlds simultaneously. Because the world of the mass bankers, the banksters, and the Federal Reserve, the federal governments, they're not going away. What they're going to do is try to maintain and preserve their power more than ever before. Because the world of honest money is starting to give birth to itself now. This is where I align myself. I want my freedom. I want honest money. I want real money. You know, so I'm starting to study things like gold and silver and Bitcoin and land and how to survive as much as possible away from these folks over here. However, they're not going away. So the way I look at it, this is the world of fraud, okay? It's happening now. It's very, very big. It's extremely successful and very, very effective. They have perfected this fraud almost to infinity. Some people don't like it. I'm on this camp over here, but I'm very aware of this camp. I'm trying to survive and learn over here, how to survive over here. And I think everyone on earth is going to have to learn how to do this. How much do you value your freedom? How much do you value your privacy? How much do you value the laws? Your right to freedom of speech, your right to freedom of the press, your right to be innocent until proven guilty, your right to due process in the law, your right to the rule of law, not to the rule of dictators, not to the rule of totalitarian regimes, not to the rule of fraud and control and bribery, but to the rules of honesty, the universal law. Where do you stand? I'm literally asking, where do you stand? You have to start asking yourself these questions. Both worlds are happening simultaneously. The fraud is happening and amplified on a global scale more than ever before. And they're going to keep doing it so long as you, the people, allow that to happen. Luckily, there's enough people starting to believe that it's possible to create a world of honest money that they're starting to come to life right now. I see that as the birth of a new America, okay? Starting in roughly 2024. So we've got 4 years. The way I look at it, we've got 4 years to figure this stuff out, okay? I think I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to scare you. I don't want to scare myself anymore. We have lives to live, stuff to do today, and I want to leave you on a happy note. Everything is exactly as it should be. And why is it so? It's because it can't be any other way. Okay? So enjoy your life. Like, I'm allowing myself to be terrified right now. For example, if I was a Biden kind of Democrat person, I would be rejoicing. But deep down, I would be terrified that Trump is going to contest this and blow the fraud open wide. Okay? If I'm on the Trump side, I'm going to go, oh my God, I'm terrified. I've lost everything. It's all blown. We don't stand a chance. It's the end of America. I am the last president of America. There will be no presidents anymore. There will be dictators. It's happening simultaneously. So the people on the right are just as terrified as the people on the left. It's all happening simultaneously. And I'm just trying to navigate through it, okay? And I'm trying to share my perspectives with you because you can ignore all this if you want to, but it's because it's going to happen anyway. And you will discover by default where you stand and where you lie. Your belief systems will be reflected back to you in terms of your physical life. What does that look like? When you take the CBDC money, from the FedNow coin, the FedNow card, and you're thinking, wow, that's cool. That's freaking free money. I'm desperate, so I'll just take it. Chances are you're not going to be aware that they're tracking everything that they do. Everything that you do in China, basically almost everything that you do in your life can be tracked financially. Just like they do with GOOGLE and FACEBOOK and TWITTER. They track everything. They suck everything out of you. That's a vacuum cleaner. They suck information and they sell it in the corporatocracy in order to farm you. They are farming you. They're milking you. Like in the Chinese slave camps, it's direct. In America, it's indirect. They operate it through the debt farm. Either way, you have to figure out where do you belong. It's going to be a blend. It's going to be a bit of this and a bit of that. But it's important to know. That's what I think. I just kind of want to wake people up a little bit so that you kind of know that this stuff is going on, whether you like it or know it or not. It's happening. I can't help it. I can't help sensing it. I can't help noticing, so I have to deal with it. And some of it just terrifies me. And so I feel I have to share that because I'm not the only one who's terrified. There's millions of people who are terrified about what's happening right now with the American election and the implications right now. Because the United States is the only place that has this constitution. We are the only place, we have the only person who's willing to stand up to the oppressors, to the tyrannists. Okay? So it's going to happen simultaneously. I'm learning where I stand. I'm sharing what I can with you guys. I kind of wish this was a private meeting and you were all here in person on my private Zoom and we could actually start bouncing conversations around. I could see you and you can see me and we can actually talk and listen with each other. But maybe that's another day. We'll see. I'm going to leave it at that, folks. I have to get on with the day. You guys have to get on with your day. I'm going to wish you all the very, very best. I know it was a bit kind of chaotic and messy, and I prepped up as much as I could, but I get kind of in a frenzy. Please understand, I'm primarily like an artist and a musician and a writer by nature. And then having to do things in a very logical, regimented, business-like way sometimes can be very, very hard for me. It doesn't come naturally. I have to put huge amounts of work into trying to be functional on this planet in a three-dimensional manner. I'm much more happy up in the clouds, in space, mediumship, psychic visions, singing, composing, telling stories, doing astrology and tarot readings for people. All of that stuff that seems fuzzy, wooey. And yet I have to function here in this three-dimensional world, just like everybody else. And I'm learning. Take care, everybody. It's been wonderful. I'm going to leave on a cheerful note for you. And you guys chat amongst yourselves for a couple minutes. Have a super day. Okay? Bless you all. Thank you all for being here.